Okay guys, so welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is doing well. As always, in the weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs that we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video as I do have a bonus pair in store. Now, I didn't take any trades this week. It was a bit cautious. We had the US elections, a lot of news this week. So I didn't really have many setups either, but I did stay out of a couple of trades because of the news. However, going to next week, some nice opportunities are starting to shape up. So let's just get straight into the analysis. So we'll start with the DXY. So dollar, I am looking at some downside still. We've had a big move to the upside, of course, post US elections. Things have looked a bit bullish there on the lower time frames after the US election. So price has had a very strong move to the upside, but I do think we're hitting some prices where the market is likely to turn around. And I do have a pretty bearish bias in the higher time frames for USD, specifically coming to that 105, 500, 105, 700 area. Solid resistance, as we can see multiple rejections in this area. Actually, if I go to the weekly chart, see a bit clearer, can even expand that level a little bit more. So we're looking at this area here at 105, 500-ish area. Solid resistance there, bit of a fake out there, but rejection there a couple times. And of course, we do have that trend line there as well, with those successive lower highs looking for the next one there as well. So looking to see if we can hold this, and I will retain that bearish bias as long as we can hold that area of resistance. Should we break through, I'll reanalyze and possibly might be seeing a big breakout. But for now, I'm looking for that next lower high and another respect of that level of resistance and a push down. So I'm looking at some sells for the dollar. So I'm keeping that in the back of my mind for now when we do take a look at some USD markets. We might still see a bit more upside. There is a bit more room. We might come back and test it for an equal high. We might create a higher high before the big sell. So there could be some upside next week, but I'm expecting the bigger move anyway if we do reject those areas to be a move to the downside. So that's very much where my head is at with USD markets. So taking a look at Euro USD, I'm of course looking for the inverse, looking for a big push to the upside. We're coming to a massive level of support. Again, more of a daily, weekly area here as well. I'm looking for the bounce off this low, really big move to the upside. Now we're coming back to that same area. And a bit of retracement there the past couple of weeks, but again, US elections, big sell to the downside. I still do expect to see some upside coming to the market, and we finished off the week pretty bearish as well. So I'm looking for a bit more downside and some rejections around that area, 1.06700. And from that is the area I do expect to see some upside. Of course, we'll see how we get then, how we reject. I wouldn't just suggest looking to buy straight away. Price might break through, it could go a lot lower. So I want to see some wicks, some rejection, shift of momentum before I would anticipate a reversal. And in terms of targets, I'll keep it fairly simple, back to this area here, back to that high. I think that's very logical. If my long-term bias is correct, we could be coming all the way back to the highs there at 1.093, but I would suggest managing the trade at these areas, taking some partials, looking some gains, because we very much could consolidate, we could still break lower, but this is a nice area to at least anticipate a bounce, and we can look to plot some longs from those areas, and there could be some nice intra-week, intraday sells as we do push up back into those areas next week, so keep an eye out for that. But the bigger swing, I'm looking for a bounce from this 1.06700 level, which lines up really well with that daily level there as well. So that is the plan going to next week for Euro USD. Okay, so over to USD JPY. So there's two setups I'm looking at. One is a more intraday, intra-week long opportunity since the market has been trending to the upside very well. You can see all these higher highs and higher lows. Still a lot of bullish momentum present in the market. This is a significant level of support in the 4-hour chart. Respect it once, a couple times more, really big move to the upside. So as we approach this area again pretty correctively, I do expect to see another bounce, possibly a swing back to the high. You can also target some levels here as well. So I do like that area for a bounce to the upside for dollar yen from an intraday, intra-week opportunity. If there's a possible big short opportunity, it's because price is holding on to a massive weekly level. You can look here on the left, 151.950, massive rejection there, another big rejection there as well. And we're trading at that same area, and I'm not quite convinced whether price is breaking above it or rejecting as resistance. It's still kind of a bit, still kind of up in the air. Price hasn't really made its mind up. So I'm still waiting for either a strong close on the weekly to the downside to confirm the sellers are back in the market, or a big push to the upside to tell us basically we're breaking out and probably going to see some more upside. So if that's the case, then what I want to see in terms of the sell opportunity is a big break to the downside and possibly some retest of that same area, which we said we're looking to long from as resistance, and look to plot some shorts from that same area. And there's a lot of targets we could look at, some lows there. There's even the possibility for a massive swing all the way down to the low at 140. If we really are going to reject that weekly level, that's where I do think we can get to, but we can probably save that for another day. I think a push back down into this low here around 149 makes a lot of sense, at least for a target for next week anyway. But really my focus is that level of support. If it does break, probably means we might be having a big move to the downside, so we'll be looking for the shorts on the retest. If you can see some solid rejection, some nice wicks, does mean that the buys are looking good and possibly another push to the upside next week. So I'll keep an eye on both of those opportunities, but I think there is a big move to be had here with dollar yen going to next week, but that is the plan. Okay, so over to dollar CAD. So dollar CAD, I'm looking at some downside. Price is still trading at a really big level of resistance. As you can see on the weekly chart here, massive level over there, big rejection, big rejection, big rejection. And now we're trading at that same area again. So there is that possibility for another move to the downside. Of course, we could break out, but already seeing some indecision with this week's candle closing as that small bearish doji, if you will, implying that the market has had a lot of momentum, but all of that momentum has now dissipated. And it's a sign that we are struggling to break through that level. So the possibility of some downside is definitely very much on. And as I drop back to the 4-hour chart, you can see we are struggling at these highs. Prices create a bit of a double top there, test the area once, second time. So we are struggling. So I do think some sales look good back at this high again. Again, monitoring price, how we get there. Look for some rejection. If things look good, there could be some nice shorts early on next week. I wouldn't look for anything crazy. I know we were trading, we could really open up and see a lot of downside, but what I would wait for is the market to start to create some lower lows and lower highs, and then we can speak about some shorts from a more swing perspective, because at that point we've actually got some bearish structure to play with, and we can really try and stretch price, because we are at a big level and there's a lot of room to the downside if we are going to reject it. But equally, the market is still kind of consistent with these higher lows. So I would be a little bit careful with the shorts, not trying to push the trade too far, because you might just see a reaction, which would be worthwhile trading, but then the market could print a higher low and then suddenly break to the upside against you. So in terms of managing the trade, I'll be looking for that reaction, maybe trying to anticipate another higher low forming. So take my profit in this area here. If we do get a sustained break and lower lows and lower highs, then we can discuss some longer term shorts, but this probably won't come around until next week or maybe the week after. So I'll keep an eye on that, but that will take some time to develop. At the moment in time now, that's probably the best short opportunity we can see. Price is already respected a couple times, so I'll expect it to react again if we see some nice rejection at those prices. But that is the plan going to next week for dollar CAD. Okay, so over to euro pound. So euro pound pretty bearish this week, but we're still trading that massive weekly / monthly level. Actually go to the monthly time frame, see a little bit clearer. Again, similar situation to dollar CAD in terms of trading at a massive level, which again I'm expecting price to bounce from. Of course we could break out, but I'll wait for price to break out and then I'll look for opportunities in respect to the breakout. Since we haven't had that yet, I'm always going to anticipate a bounce, so I'm still looking at some upside for euro pound at these prices. So if we scale right back down to the 4-hour chart, again, similar to dollar CAD as well, we are rejecting these lows pretty well. So first test, second, third. It does look like we're breaking out here and possibly maybe prices, and we're going to keep falling to the downside. But I would keep an eye out for some closures back above in terms of a big fake out, and use that to my advantage to look for some buying opportunities, because if that is the case, I do think this could be a really nice buy, because it would have taken out all of these lows there. So any liquidity below that would have been triggered, and now price is likely going to see some upside based on that. But of course, price closing back above the level is very, very significant. If not, we could just keep falling, so watch out for that. But you can see price is still pretty corrective, and we're still kind of descending to the downside here as well. Overall price is quite corrective, so I do think there's a good chance we do bounce here, despite looking very bearish at the moment. But the key thing is closing back above that area really. If not, then yeah, the market could keep falling, and who knows, maybe we're going to see that big breakout of that monthly level as well. So that is a possibility as well. But if we can get back above, buys look good. I'll say targets back to here around 0.83479 make the most sense as well. Kind of looking to play that range. Price has been fluctuating between these two prices quite a lot, so if you do get back above that low, there's a good chance price is going to push back into that high there. There's a possibility we can go a lot higher since of where we're trading, but I'd say sensible targets make a lot of sense back into this first level, and you can always leave some positions to run if you're looking to really stretch the trade. But that's kind of what I'm looking at next week for euro pound. Still only focused with the buys because of where we're trading. Solid level of support in the 4 hour. It looks like price is breaking through that, and we well could be, but if we do close back above, I do like the buys, and I would anticipate a nice push to the upside. So that is the plan going to next week for euro pound. Okay, so moving on to Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar, pretty mixed week. I mean, we started pretty bullish, and now price is looking pretty bearish. Again, with Aussie dollar in the higher time frames, it still is a big ranging market. So I'm not really interested in the current prices of where we're trading to get involved. I've said for the past couple of weeks, I do think we're probably going to see a bigger move back down to the low here eventually, just because, you know, price is ranging. We've respected the high of the range. So now we've seen a really sustained rejection. There's a good chance we'll come back to the low of the range. So that's simply how I'm looking at Aussie dollar. I did say I do like sells. If we were to have a bigger move up to these prices here, I wouldn't mind looking to anticipate some shorts around 0.6788. Unfortunately, price just hasn't been that bullish to get there for the retest, so there's no real opportunity for me. I have talked about this low here as a nice place for a retest as well, but because the break of the level and the retest is just quite shallow, it doesn't really fit my plan. I like the big breakouts and the big retest, so this is not really an area which I would focus on. Price has kind of respected it. We did respect it well over there, then we kind of broke it and broke back underneath it as well. So price looks like it's finding resistance there. So I think if you are really eager to trade Aussie dollar, if price was to get back up there, again, looking at how price reacts, there could be a nice opportunity for a short there to take it back down. But my focus is very much up at these prices, or at least down at these prices for the buys, because I know I'm at the bottom of the range at the extreme, so price is likely to bounce in my favor. In these areas where you get more indecision, it's a bit difficult, more difficult to anticipate what price is going to do next. But this could be a nice short. Definitely if price can hold that level, if you see some more rejection, some more wicks, could be a nice short back into the low there. Price has found it really hard to break through this low at 0.653, so that looks like a nice target for the week. And you can of course leave positions to run back to the low if you're feeling a little bit more optimistic with that trade. But not a bad short opportunity, I have to admit, but this is really where my focus will lie, up at the highs there. Again, probably unlikely to see a move to those areas next week, so Aussie dollar probably won't make my watch list, but I'll keep an eye, of course. But this is probably the more realistic and more possible opportunity to form next week. So I'll keep an eye on 0.664. It is a strong daily low, so it is a nice area to short. Just the conditions aren't particularly great, but keep an eye on some shorts around 0.664 for some moves back into the low next week for Aussie dollar. Okay, so over to NZD CAD. So NZD CAD, I'm still looking for a bit more downside. Again, I've talked about this ascending channel on the daily time frame for a while. Price is making some really nice higher highs and higher lows. This is where I'm looking for price to get to before I decide whether we're looking for some really big longs or some big shorts. If we were to break through and looking for a move back down to that low there, the origin of that ascending channel, that's where I expect price to get to, because this could be just a large correction for price to continue down, or maybe we're gonna anticipate another high low and see some upside. And what I'm looking for is just how price gets then, how we react with that level, where we see some wicks, some rejection, shift momentum like we had over here, like we had over there, or do we just see big bearish candles closing below, retesting? Then of course at that point I'm expecting a lot more downside, and we can start to talk about these lows as targets and these lows as targets, and of course eventually the lows are back down there as well. So there's a lot of downside opportunities, a lot of upside opportunity with New Zealand CAD. Just really depends what we do here, and that will set my bias for the next few days, few weeks really. At the moment we're kind of trading in the middle of nowhere still, so I'm not really interested with price. I mean, we have found a bit of resistance here on the 4-hour chart. We're having a bit of trouble trying to break through, but again, this is not really the areas I want to get involved with NZD CAD. I want to be involved at the low or at the high, just given the condition of the market. It's not like we're heavily trending, so I can look for my break and retest, but at the moment this is the area which I'll anticipate some nice buys from. And of course, if you do go and break through, we'll talk about the sells. But for now, I think there's some nice buys could set up next week. Of course, we'll see how price reacts. But this is really where I want to get involved with New Zealand CAD and kind of stay away from those ranges really in choppy price action. But buys do look good. Let's see how we react to that channel first, of course, and things look good. Hopefully some opportunities and take it right back to where we came from, back into this area of resistance where price has found a lot of rejection this week. So that's still my buy, still the plan going to next week with NZD CAD. Okay, so over to pound NZD. So pound NZD, I was originally looking for buys this week, but we've broken through that trend line there. I was looking for price to see if you can remain above it, but since the strong break, I am looking for a bigger retracement now for pound NZD. I'm still bullish longer term. If I do scale to the higher time frames, you can see market has been pretty consistent with these higher lows, 1, 2, 3, 4 over there as well, and I'm looking for the 5th now, just a deeper pullback into retesting that high along with the trend line there as well. That's where my confidence now lies for that bigger swing to the upside and possibly a push still back into that swing high over there. So that's the longer term trade I'm looking at. In the meantime, there could be some sells for pound NZD. I can see price having a really hard time trying to break through 2.17 ish. 2.17, 150, a lot of wicks into that same area. This looks like a nice place for a short. Say prices to get there again next week. We could see some shorts back down to that area. Again, it's a bit more counter trend. All the momentum is to the upside, but you're looking to go against that. And I do think it's a trade worthwhile, especially if it does play out. And even if it does play out back into the low there, you're still looking at probably a 1 to 2 maybe, depending on your entry. And you can always leave some positions to run as well. So the risk reward is definitely promising for that short opportunity. I'm still focused with the buy, so that's where my focus is. But in terms of more of an intra-day, intra-week trade opportunity, if you're really looking to actively trade pound NZD, I think that's a nice place for some shorts. You can see the rejections there on the 4 hour look pretty good, and at least you've got this kind of range play almost back down to that low, and possibly some bigger shorts there as well. So keep an eye on 2.17300 and also 2.12700. Probably take a while for us to get there, so this is probably the more immediate opportunity you'll be looking at, and then later on maybe some nice buys will develop longer term. We can speak about some buys again, but that's kind of how I'm looking to play pound NZD going into next week. Okay, so over to CAD Yen. So CAD Yen is a similar situation as with dollar yen. Price is trading at a really big area on the weekly chart where we could potentially sell off to as well. As you can see, big rejection over there, another rejection over there, and now we're back there again. And this possibly could just be the correction. This move here could be the correction of this big move in July. Really big sell-off, market's having a bit of a breather, retesting some resistance. Possibly we might see the next continuation of that move. So it's in really a pivotal area, because if we break through, there's a lot of upside as well. But at the moment, price is struggling. This week's candle, big wick to the upside, pull back. So not really sustainable bullish price action I'm seeing right now. In terms of the buys, they still do look good in the lower time frames, because again, we're still seeing consistent higher highs and higher lows. Momentum is still to the upside still. So coming back into the low here, kind of the low of this range really. Looks like a nice place for a buy. Intraday, intra-week, looking for opportunities there, simply to trade it back into the high, and you can call it a day. On the flip side, if we were to break structure and break through this low here, I would be looking at sell opportunities, and that to me would be a sign that, okay, that rejection on the weekly is serious. We're breaking through structure. At that point, we're seeing lower highs, and maybe we are going to see a big sell for CAD Yen. If I quickly switch back to the weekly chart, if this is going to be an area we sell off from, then I would expect us to come right back into the lows here, which is around the 104, 103 mark, if this is the pullback of that big sell in July. So there's a lot of room to the downside for CAD Yen should we get that big sell. Looking for the break of structure, and then we can start talking about some lower highs. Again, in terms of targets, you're probably not going to aim for the low all the way down here in one go. You'll probably be looking at some targets at these areas and these areas here as well. So you can manage the trade as you go along. I think a suitable trade, suitable target for next week is this kind of 108 area, just below 108. But again, similar to dollar yen, this level is our main focus. Respect it. There could be some nice buys early on, break through, and you see a lot of momentum. Then yeah, the sales look really good, and we could be in for a really big move for the yen pair. So keep a close eye on that. But for now, 109.300 is my main focus. Keep an eye for the buys if we hold. Keep an eye for the sells if we break. And yeah, that's where my focus will be going to next week for CAD Yen. Okay, so over to pound USD. So pound USD still correctively falling in this descending channel here. I'm still looking for a bit of a move to the upside. We're testing a really big level on the daily chart, As you can see, significant resistance over there, now taken as support. I'm looking for a bounce. I still think the bigger move might be to the downside for pound USD, since we did have that break of structure there. So I'm looking for a bit of a push to the upside and maybe a big sell later on. But the move to the upside is what I'm looking to profit from and take advantage of. But I do need to see price break out of this descending channel. I need to see price really commit to the upside, break out the channel, break resistance. And then I'll be looking for my pullbacks, retest, and this is kind of the area I'll be looking to focus on. A retest of around 1.30350, and from there as well look to take my opportunities to the upside. You can look for some buys down low, anticipate that reversal. This of course is a slightly more aggressive trade, but definitely a trade that, if it does play out, will be worthwhile, because number one, you have a better entry. Number two, your risk reward will be much better as well. Of course, it's a bit more risky because price is still in that descending channel, and for all we know, we could still see another push lower. This, once you get the breakout, is already confirmed to you. Okay, momentum stepping into the market, we're breaking structure, so we're likely to continue higher. So it's a bit more of a safer entry, safe opportunity here. A bit more riskier, but of course it will pay better if it does play out. So it's up to you how you want to manage that and tackle that. For pound USD, I'll be looking at this opportunity here. But again, buys down there around 1.28689 look pretty good as well. But I'm definitely bullish bias at this level. If we're to have a strong breakthrough, I'll probably maybe put that bullish bias to rest and maybe start look to sell. I definitely won't be very bullish anymore. Probably not straight away looking to sell, but I have to reanalyze and see where we can go from there. But at the moment in time, this is kind of what I'm looking at for pound USD going to next week. Buys from the low at 1.2866 or to 1.30500. That is the plan for next week for pound USD. Okay, so over to pound CAD. So pound CAD, again on the higher time frame, slowly grinding higher. You can see the higher highs and higher lows here with this trend line as the market keeps pushing to the upside. So again, I'm still looking for that big move to the downside. We're trading at a big level on the monthly chart. I do think it's time for pound CAD to have a bit of a breather. Again, massive level there, big rejection last time, and now we're trading at that same area. The market's pretty stretched as well. We've been trending to the upside since September 2022, so it's been a while since we've moved to the upside without a major move down, and now we're coming back into such a big level. This is where I do think we can go through a bit of a reaction. So if I'm looking to sell, first I need price to break the trend line and break out of this bullish structure. I'm not going to sell the market just yet, because for all I know, we could still go a lot higher. There is some evidence that the market is failing though. Test the higher ones, test it again. So we are failing to create new highs. But I want to see price go and break through this. You can see this is a really strong level of support. Multiple rejections of this area. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the market has really shown a lot of respect to that. But if it does break, it's going to be a really nice indication that, okay, the sellers are taking control. Buyers no more are supporting that level. And if we were to come back and retest that as resistance, that looks like a nice place for that, because of how many times price respected it as support. There's a good chance it will be respected as resistance, but of course, waiting for our confirmations, not jumping straight in. In terms of targets, this is probably going to be my first target there. Again, I'll be trading stops, so I would see how far I can take it, but this makes a lot of sense in terms of banking partials or trading a stop behind. There's some lows here, which I do expect us to get to, because if we are going to see that big sell on the higher time frames, there's a long way for us to go, and I expect a pretty big move. So eventually I will be looking at some lows here, 1.745, but in the near future, this is probably the level to focus on, at least for next week anyway. But the break of that is very, very important. On the flip side, we might not get the break, so you can of course focus on the buys here as well. If price was to come back down, leave another wick like it's been doing so well, there could easily be a nice buy opportunity to take it back up again. But the fact is, we're failing at the highs, still very choppy. It's a sign that the trend is running out of steam, so the bigger move to me looks to be the sell. So that's kind of where my focus will be from now on. So keep an eye on 1.787, because depending if we can hold or break, will set the buy, set the tone for the week. But this is the move I'll be interested in, so we'll have to wait patiently for that. But that is the plan going to next week for pound CAD. Okay, so moving on to pound yen. So pound yen, I'm expecting a bit of a move to the downside. You can see how corrective price is in this ascending channel. Not the characteristics of a healthy trend, so there's a good chance we are tiring and get ready for a move to the downside. It might just be a bigger pullback now. It might not necessarily be price reversing completely. It might be a pullback of this big bullish move, or price keep going higher. But I am looking for that move to the downside, and then I'll be looking for buys on the retest of that high there, because that's kind of a suitable pullback for me to start looking to get involved for a high. So it's been a big break of that level, could be a retest of that, and then some buys. Of course, I will have to wait to see how we get there and how we react before looking for the trade. That is a nice area which I will focus on for some longs and look to take price higher. In terms of the shorts, it does look like price is getting ready for a break of the channel, but if we do push higher up again, there could be some nice shorts at this high. We're coming into a nice area of kind of demand, supply on the left here, so price is having a really hard time at breaking through this area. So I think the sales look good up here. It's a bit aggressive because again, you're going against all that momentum, but you're at a nice area and the risk reward makes sense as well. Your stop loss is just above the high, so you keep the risk small. And if it does play out, you're looking at a really nice winner. But for me, the buys look a lot better. At least they're following momentum. So that's kind of where my focus will be. And at the moment, we're still kind of trading at that channel. So I need that to really break, and hopefully we can see price continue to the downside. But I am looking at some downside for most of the yen pairs next week, and pound yen definitely included. But this is where I'm looking to enter those buys at 193.200. So that's the plan going to next week for pound yen. Okay, so up next we've got gold. So gold I'm still very bullish on. Price has not broken through major structure in the higher time frames. If I zoom out on the daily chart, you can see price just pushing to the upside, higher highs and higher lows. So I cannot be bearish, at least on the higher time frames in this circumstance. So I am still looking for longs. I do have an area which I do like here for gold, 26.44. You can see a brief area of support there. Nice push to the upside. Tagged it again not long ago. If we were to correctively fall and test the area nicely again, I would anticipate another bounce there for gold. I also do like the sells here. Now, if the sells do come around, I wouldn't look for a big move like right back down to the low where we came from. I would only be looking at some type of smaller reaction, a trade for the day, a trade for maybe a couple days, and then look to exit that trade really, because momentum is still with the buyers, at least on the higher time frames. I know we had this exceptional drop, which is why the shorts do look good. We had this brief consolidation, big drop to the downside. Price now could come back and retest that area, and we could see some nice downside. But equally, the buyers are still very much in control, so I wouldn't bet on that going too far. Might just see a slight reaction before the bigger move does kick in. So if you are looking to sell gold, I think the shorts actually do look surprisingly pretty good here. So I would keep an eye on that. I just wouldn't look to take it too far. If you're looking for the longs, keeping an eye on 26.44, 45. That's where price seems to be respecting that level quite a lot, and the buyers are looking to entering at that market. So this is where I'm looking to place my positions. Of course, we'll see how price reacts, but the idea is looking to take price back to where we came from at that high and maybe further as well. So still very bullish on gold, but if you're looking for shorts, keep an eye on 27.40. If you're looking to long, keep an eye on 26.45. And those are the opportunities I'm looking at for gold next week. Okay, so over to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin looking very, very bullish. New all-time highs with this one, and I really like that candle on, was it Wednesday? What day was that? Tuesday, Wednesday? Looks like Wednesday, yeah. So really nice break to the upside, creating the all-time highs. Now the key thing with Bitcoin is momentum. We need to keep this momentum going. If we start to sluggishly fall to the downside and do something like this, then yeah, I'll kind of just become very neutral on Bitcoin at that point and just look for a really big consolidation forming. But if we keep this momentum alive, because of course we have broken out of this descending channel, market's now picking up momentum here. If we keep this going, I do expect us to go and hit some really high prices. We've got 80k not actually too far away now, 90k is not far away either, and of course you've got the infamous 100k not too far away as well, especially if momentum really picks up. Probably just going to keep pushing to those prices. So the key thing with Bitcoin is keeping momentum, and if we can see a pullback, a retest of the high, that'd be great. That's another opportunity to get involved with Bitcoin and keep that momentum going. If we were to break through and then become very corrective, break underneath that high, I think looking to buy Bitcoin doesn't really become an attractive opportunity anymore, because momentum is such a big part. You can see when we had this exponential move to the upside, momentum played a big role in that. Momentum became very dry. Bitcoin becomes dry, and we kind of just form a big consolidation. So keep an eye on the retest around 73k. That looks like a nice place to enter some longs and then ride the wave. So that is definitely my bias going to next week for Bitcoin. Keep an eye on that level. Okay, so over to the bonus pair for this week. It is New Zealand CHF. So I'm actually really liking the buys here with this one because it does look like price has had a failed attempt to try and break through the lows here. This has been a very pivotal level of support, big move to the upside, crashing move straight through. And it looks like price is just about holding that area as support again and looking for a big move to the upside. It did look at one point last week and the week before that price was going to break through, but all we've done is just leave a lot of wicks to the downside. So it's telling me that we're failing to break through, and if we can keep this up, we're likely to see a big move higher up. Again, if that changes and we see a big candle to the downside and it breaks through, then yes, I will be looking for a push into the low. But so far, we are rejecting that as support. And then dropping to the lower time frames, you can see the daily chart. Nice bounce to the upside, a lot of momentum. So this tells me that the buyers are coming back into the market. And it's kind of like a big inverse head and shoulder pattern. Let me get that over here. There we go. So you got your left, you got your head, and of course that's creating your shoulder, your right shoulder, and of course you're looking for the move to the upside, breaking that neckline. So I'm looking for some upside, healthy level of support here, a lot of rejection in the past. Looking at that as a bit of a fake out. I do like this zone here as well, around 0.5164 and 0.51828. So it depends which level holds, depends which level gives me the price action I'm looking for. But these are the areas which I would look to anticipate some upside from for New Zealand CHF next week. Now, I'm not looking for the big swing to the upside. The upside potential is definitely there. But in terms of targets, if I can get it back to this area, that'd be great. And depending on the risk reward, you can be looking at 1 to 3, 1 to 4. So, you know, there's no need to try and look for anything crazy. You can always leave some positions to run as well because the potential is there. So that's why I like it, because it can be a really big swing trade if it does really play out. In terms of a nice place for a bounce, we've seen price respect it numerous times. So if we get there, looking for price to respect it again. If we break slightly lower, then this will be my last bet. If it breaks through that, then yeah, the market's probably is going to be bearish. At that point, I'll flip the bias around and start looking for some selling opportunities. But for now, this is definitely how I'm looking to play the market. So keep a close eye on New Zealand CHF. There is a lot of upside potential for this one if it does go and play out. But yeah, it really depends how we get there, how we respect the levels, if I do get the entries I'm looking for or not, and if I do take the trades. But for now, the bias lines up pretty well. So now it's just waiting for those entries at those levels. But guys, that does bring us to the end of the analysis. If you have found it useful, please be sure to smash the like button. Drop a comment down below any pairs you're looking at to trade for next week. I'm eager to find out. And of course, make sure you have hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. If you haven't done already, check out Elevating Traders Discord channel. Join the community, chat with other traders, including myself, and of course you can find your discount opportunities to your next Elevating Traders challenge. So make sure you go check that out. Link to that in the description below. But guys, really appreciate you tuning in. Have a great day, great weekend, and I'll catch you all in the next one.